Welcome to the podcast, Dwayne, my very first guest. Delighted to have you with us.
Delighted to be here, Laura.
So, Dwayne, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Dwayne Johnson-Cochran. I'm a writer, director, and a producer. I work in film, television, documentary. I sent the script to this one agent at CAA. And one day, the phone rang. I was directing, they call it pledge night, where I call it begathons.
A charity drive, right?
Yeah, PBS, begathons every night. So I was directing it, and the phone rang in the booth, and it was this assistant from CAA saying, "We got your script in the mail. We don't know who you are. Who are you? We read this. All the assistants read it. We really like it. Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm me," And they said, "Well, we want to give the agent the script to read, but we want to know, has anybody else in town read the script?" I said, "Well, this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy." And they said, "No, this town."
The only town that counts.
The town that counts. I said, "No, just you." And she said, "Okay, thank you." And he hung up. And about a week later, they called and said, the agent said he read it and loved it and said, "When can you come out? And we want to talk to you about representation." I was in shock.
That's incredible. Like with the first script that you'd written.
Yeah, first script. Well, the Rodney King situation happened a year earlier.
Right.
And the riots were that year. I was definitely down there shooting photographs of it. I was in the middle of it. Just the fires and the trucks, and it was a lot of angst in the city, rightly so, because of that decision and the racial divide in the city. I think Koreatown people were on top of roofs with rifles. The police were going left and right, allowing looting to happen because they just couldn't stop it. And Black folks were particularly upset. We were very upset because of what that verdict was about. And then there became the aftermath of rebuilding and promises and all the things that came from that. And people got fired, and police chief was run out of town. But still, the city wasn't, and to that matter, it still isn't, the sort of greatest place to live if you have less money. But if you do well, it's a great place to live. Los Angeles is an amazing place to live. So any person coming from a city, you have to acclimate yourself to a place where there's not a lot of foot traffic. There's a lot of cars. But the more important thing that got me was the level of loneliness that can creep into being a new person in a city where you don't know too many people. There's both a mixture of tourists, newbies, and natives. Wherever you go, you meet people who were probably the most funniest person in Nebraska living here now. And now they're in LA, and they're like,
right.
Yeah. So they're the class clown now is here. He's at the Comedy Store, or they're on a TV series, or they're trying to be this, or they're writing or producing, or they got an MBA or something. You have a lot of people from other places here. And that's something hard. It's hard sometimes to get used to that. And I remember jumping out of bed, everything's moving. The gas broke in my kitchen, and some candle hit the floor. All of a sudden, there's fire everywhere.
Oh my God! Fire in your actual apartment?
My apartment.
Wow.
So the guy next door to me, he was a photographer. He opens my door. He says, "We have Dwayne. We have earthquake. We have fire too. What is going on?"
Jeez.
We both jumped out the window and rolled on the ground.
Wow, that's dramatic. It reminds me of the ride at Universal Studios where you go through the earthquake simulation. You had the real thing.
Yeah, we really had it. We had this fire in my kitchen, and things were moving. I think it went on like 45 seconds, this earthquake. And I remember he was a German guy. He says, Dwayne, we don't have fire. We have earthquake. What are you doing? You
Oh
know,
my God.
he ran through my apartment. Let's go. We jumped over the railing and rolled on the ground.
Yeah, well,
So,
I visited the first time I ever visited LA would have been, I forget if it was around that time. It was around that time because I had family over there and I remember seeing the fallen
yeah,
highways and just being like, what is this place? Like,
this place.
yeah.
Who want to live here?
Yeah, right. And here I am. Yet here I am. One piece of advice, if you have one piece of advice, either for me or for someone else that may be listening that may be thinking of moving to LA.
Wow. One piece of advice. Um, don't give up on it too quickly.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes it may feel like you know, it's a very daunting place to be because it's so spread out and hard to meet new people, depending on what business you're in. Um, but don't give up on it. You'll find your niche and your routine and a group of people eventually will be agreeable to your personality.